Our next speaker is a name you're probably all very familiar with, Mr. Donald J. Trump, Chairman and President of the Trump Organization, is the very definition of the American success story, continually setting standards of excellence while expanding his interests in real estate, sports, and entertainment. Mr. Trump has over 7 million followers on social media. He uses this platform to advocate for conservative causes, low taxes, a strong military, pro-growth policies. Mr. Trump was born in Queens, New York. He is married to Melania Trump and father to Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka, Eric, Tiffany, and Barron. He is a proud grandfather of 7. And I'd like to have a warm hand to welcome to our Tea Party Coalition Convention, Mr. Donald Trump.
Wow, what a nice reception, especially on a Monday. It's very good. Really amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. I really have always had great respect for the Tea Party. And these are great people, amazing people. They're people that love the country. They're people that love work. They're people that really want to see the right thing done. And I have to tell you, I wouldn't say the Tea Party's always been treated properly by the media. I have to say that. So you're great people. I mean, here you are today on a day I would have loved to have been here yesterday, but I couldn't. And look at this. It's just incredible. It's really inspirational. But with that said, our country is headed totally in the wrong direction. We have a president, you'll be shocked to hear this, who is doing an absolutely terrible job, or is totally incompetent, which could be. You know, for a while I've been using the word incompetent. It's a very strong word. And I said, you know, when I use that word, you're going to get yourself in trouble because people are going to be criticizing you and all. And then all of a sudden I've been watching on television, so many people are saying incompetent. And they picked it up from me. So, I mean, either that or he's got a totally other agenda, which could also be, okay? And, you know, that could very well be. In any event, Washington is broken. It's totally broken. And our country truly is in serious, serious trouble. Politicians, I say this, and there are a couple of politicians there in the back that I like very much, but politicians are all talk and there's no action. And I've been watching this, and I've been dealing with them for many years. And I built a great company, a tremendous company. And I deal with politicians. And to a large extent, they're for themselves. They're not for anything else. They're for their own self-preservation. And that's the way it goes. But nothing gets done. And even the Republican politicians, I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm very conservative in many ways. But even the Republican politicians, whether it's senators, congressmen, it just doesn't happen. What have they done, as an example, to stop Obamacare? Obamacare is a disaster. It's going to be worse. It's right. You haven't seen the real effect. I mean, now you know you don't have your plan, you don't have your doctors, and all the stuff that's commonplace and that you hear all the time. But you have a real problem coming up because in 2016 it really kicks in. And it's going to be massively, I have so many friends, they're telling me massively expensive. They have companies that they're closing. They have companies that they say in another year they're not going to be able to take care of things. I have so many people that tell me they can't get their coverage, that the deductibles are high like they wouldn't have believed, that unless they have a catastrophic event, and in which case maybe it doesn't even matter, they're not going to get anything. And they don't know what to do. And they are forced away from their doctors. And they are forced away from what they had. They had good plans. And I'm not saying the other was the end all, because we can do a lot better. And I mean, if you opened up the states and if you opened it up to really do a job, you could have much better coverage for less money, and it would cost the country less. Everybody would benefit. And they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it because the insurance companies are making a fortune. And frankly, they're making a total fortune off Obamacare. People don't realize that. You're getting hurt, and you're really getting hurt not only economically, which is big league, you're getting hurt because it's no good. The plan is no good. So that's going to kick in. But where were the Republicans in fighting it? You hear them talking. They're always talking. They don't do anything. And remember this, Obamacare was a big lie. And that came out with this whack job from Harvard where he said everybody's stupid. You know, he turned out to be the stupid one because I can't imagine he's going to get much work. But it turned out to be a big lie. And the president said all sorts of things, and he said it strongly, and he said it 28 different times about things that you were getting. And I said, why didn't somebody bring a lawsuit for fraud? You know, in business, if you lie, you get sued. You get sued for fraud. You have problems. You have to go and defend yourself. Nobody brought these suits. They talk. It's all talk. And you look at another thing on Obamacare, the website. Who ever heard of a $5 billion website? And on top of that, it doesn't work, but these are minor details. They spent $5 billion. And of course, the people that did the website were very closely related and had a relationship with the Obama family. Okay? And I think it's incredible that they can get away with it. I think it's absolutely incredible. Then you hear tonight and soon they're going to propose new taxes. Now, we're already the most heavily taxed nation in the world by far. It's not even close. Well, tonight I understand they're going to be proposing new taxes. So get ready, folks, because you're going to have to start paying. And then you have Benghazi. Where were the people? Now, Benghazi could have been a mistake, could have been gross incompetence again, could have been. It could have been something that was more sinister than that. But I hear so much about Benghazi. Nothing happened. Nothing ever happens. They talk. And while I'm a Republican, I'm sort of, in a certain way, more disappointed with the Republicans, that they don't get it going. Now you have the IRS with emails that were missing. I know from being sued and from suing, you know, I'm in a big, big business. It happens both ways. You can't get rid of emails. You just can't get rid of them. I would love to see, because this woman had some beauties, okay? She had some beauties. And it's a very serious thing. It's a very serious problem. But they talk, and I see the screaming and the ranting and the raving, and then it ends and they're on to the next thing. Nothing happens. It never happens. Now you have the beauty with President Obama, his executive order on immigration, everybody come into the country. And remember this for the conservative people in the room, for the Republicans in the room. Those people are always voting Democratic. I've watched some people talking about how they'll convince them to become great conservative. It's not happening, folks. Now, you have to do what's right. I mean, it's not just a question of the vote. They are not voting for any of your people anyway. But it's not just that. But we can't afford it. We're a country with 20 trillion, soon to be 20 trillion in debt. And they're pouring over the lines. I mean, they're pouring. Now, if you happen to come from Europe, you can't get in. If you happen to come from Asia and you were number one in your class at Harvard, you can't get in. You can't get in. You can go to the Wharton School of Finance, which is the best business school. You can go and be a great genius, and then they throw you out of the country. 4 years, you stay there, and you do, and you're number one in your class, and you're really smart, and you want to stay in this country, and you want to do a great job, and you want to employ people. They say, get out of here. It's unbelievable. So they go back to China, and they go back to South Korea, and they go back to other places, and they beat our brains in. They're really good. And why aren't we keeping that? Why aren't we keeping people that really add something as opposed to people that just flow across the border? Now, I saw something on the news the other night where they have guards standing there. And hundreds of people, probably thousands, but hundreds of people just walking right into the country. And you know, some of these people speak a language, and we don't even have anybody that speaks the language. I never knew that. I thought it would be Spanish. It's not Spanish. It's a language that nobody speaks. That's right. Yeah. He says ISIS. It's very funny. Or as the president would say, ISIL. You know, it's interesting. The only one that says ISIL is him. And I think he says it because everyone else says ISIS. And people don't like it when he says ISIL, even though it does refer to a certain situation. But the only one that says ISIL is him. And I think he does it just because he wants to torment you. Okay? Oh, well, eventually that'll end. So you have an executive order on immigration, which was incredible. And the good news is with executive orders is that the new president can immediately end the executive order. That's the one good thing. That means, and he's going to do many executive orders. I see it. He's just saying, you know, I thought maybe when the Republicans had their victory recently, I thought maybe he'd be a little bit more like, well, no, let's get together. You know, the way you're supposed to. You're supposed to get together, work things out, right? Instead, he's like, forget it. I'm signing executive orders, and you're going to win in court, but it's going to take you 5 years. By that time, everyone's going to forget. Because, you know, by the time you allow millions of people to pour into the country, it's going to be very hard to get them out, even on a humanitarian basis, in all fairness, okay? So you have millions of people coming in, and some judge is going to have to sit there in 5 years from now and say, because our court system is a wreck, and it takes so long. This should take 2 days. It's going to take years. So some judge is going to sit there, a federal judge, and say everybody has to leave the country. Who wants to be that judge? In all fairness to the judge. So he's just signing these orders on all sorts. I mean, he's going to sign others on other things. You've been reading about them. And it's really amazing that our representatives and that our Republican conservative people aren't doing more about it. Because they should be. They should be. On the whole job situation, look, the economy's not good. They talk about jobs. Part of the reason some of the companies are doing well because they're doing well in other countries. But if you look at the real job numbers, you probably have an employment of 20%, could even be 21, 22%, because that's a real number. The number of 5.6 and anything in the fives is a total misrepresentation. It's a total joke. And not only that, how about the underemployed, meaning they went to a great college and they're selling something that you're not supposed to be selling, okay? Or they're working jobs that they really are way, way, way overqualified because they can't get a job. But not even adding that, if you look for a job and you give up looking for the job, you're considered employed, essentially. So they have the numbers. The numbers are totally phony numbers because the country's not doing well. China's eating our lunch. I tell you, the new one is Mexico. What they're doing is incredible. And speaking of Mexico, one of the hardest countries in the entire world to become a citizen of is Mexico. It's almost impossible. And yet people are flowing through Mexico, and they're saying, go ahead, keep going, keep going. They're sending them right up to our gate and saying, you know, the stupid people running the United States, they don't know what they're doing, and they're going to take everybody. And then they're distributing the people all over the country, and states and towns, and they don't even know what to do. And they're not trained to do it. Nobody knows nobody's ever seen anything like this ever in the history of the United States. But if you want to stay in Mexico, no chance. No chance. So it's a very, very serious problem, and we better start getting tough really fast. We as a country spent $2 trillion on Iraq. $2 trillion. And I guess you all remember when I said keep the oil. Not that I was a fan of going into Iraq, because frankly, I think that whole part of the world is so messed up that what are we doing? I've always been, let's build our schools, let's build our roads, let's build our airports. I go to these other places. I go to Saudi Arabia. I do travel all over the world, and I go to these places. You go to China. They're building a bridge at every corner. I mean, they have bridges. Where are we building bridges? They're building things that you wouldn't believe. They have highways that are carved in gold. They have the most beautiful infrastructure going up with our money, by the way, with our money. Hey, look, we talk about Apple. Apple. What's Apple? They're based here, but all the work and all the product comes out of China and other places, but for the most part, China. So they say it's an American company, but the benefits are really for others. The benefits aren't for us. And what we should do is make it so that Apple and others work here. And so when I said keep the oil, people said, oh, what a terrible thing to say. Wasn't that nasty of him? I actually had this. I had some people that loved me for it, I must be honest. One guy stood up and started applauding and screaming. And I said, I bet you're a successful entrepreneur. He said, I am. I actually had you know. But I said, keep the oil. And you know who's got the oil now? ISIS. ISIS. And they're funding their whole campaign with the oil that I said we should keep. And the other one is Iran, because Iran, you know, for many, many, many years back and forth, you know, they'd go 10 feet, and then they'd do something. They'd drop bombs in the wrong direction. They'd do all sorts of things. They were like equal. Well, now Iraq is, you know, we've obliterated it. So Iran's basically taking over Iraq, the stuff that ISIS hasn't taken over. So, you know, not only the money, but the thousands of lives and the wounded warriors that I see all over that are great people. They're walking down the street, and what do they get for their pain and suffering? And it's just incompetent politicians again. And again, I know more about politicians probably than anybody in this room, and we have plenty of people that know about politicians. But what do we get for all of our pain, for our suffering? We get an infrastructure that's 85% collapsing. I don't know if you saw the report. There was a report that came out 2 weeks ago on our infrastructure in this country, where bridges are going to be very soon, some bridges are going to have to be shut down. But more than 60% of the bridges are like going to be unsafe soon, unsafe to ride a car over. And yet we spend trillions and trillions of dollars. Now, South Korea, I have many friends in South Korea. They don't even understand it. We protect them. Guess what? I just bought thousands of televisions for a building I'm doing. Thousands and thousands. They all come from South Korea. What, do you think they pay us for protection? I don't think so. Do you think we get anything for all those televisions? I don't think so. You try buying an American-made television. It's almost impossible. I'd love to do it, but it's almost impossible. What do we get out of it? We get nothing. We protect, and then they beat us economically. And you try and figure out, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And with so many other things. China, of course, being the worst abuser. There's no question. China has been an all-star abuser of the United States. And they do it through a manipulation of their currency. And it makes it impossible for this country to compete because their heads are much smarter than our heads, so they do things that we can't do. They do things that we wouldn't think of doing. And I actually just, you know, people say, oh, why do you dislike China? I don't dislike. I have so many friends that are in China. I have one man, he's a very, very successful businessman. Paid me a fortune, actually, for an apartment, so I'm happy about it. I like him. Anybody that gives me a lot of money, I'm happy. But he said to me, we can't believe what we get away with. Now, he's a sophisticated guy. And he doesn't know I'm going to make speeches about what he said, and I'm not going to give up his name. But he said, in China, we cannot believe how stupid the American politicians are. We cannot believe what we get away with. We have built China with the profits off your back. And they have. They built it. They've rebuilt China. I mean, again, you will never see anything like what's going on in China. Now, you can say that about many countries. And when was the last time you heard a report about the United States, like something positive, where it's like, oh, man, we made a great deal against Mexico? We made a great deal against Colombia or here. We don't make good deals. We make all bad deals. We're like the stupid bully that gets beat up in school all the time, the bully that gets beat up. And it's incredible. You just don't hear about those things. I mean, when was the last time, seriously, you heard anything positive? Nothing positive. In Brazil, as an example, good country, I mean, smart. I mean, the numbers they do on us economically, it's just unbelievable. And the advantages they have, and how we help them, and how we encourage them. And nobody understands why. You know, why would that happen? But we encourage them to do this. So somebody has to be put in office that really knows what they're doing. And I'll tell you, you don't have much time, because we're going so far over the ledge that eventually we're going to fall. We are really, you know, when you get to $20 trillion, a magic number is 24 trillion, so we're not so far away. But that's a magic number. That's a number where it becomes almost inescapable. But when you get to numbers like that, the word trillion, we've all been watching this stuff pretty closely. We're all very political people. And you never heard the word trillion 10 years ago. I mean, it wasn't like a word that would be in the vocabulary. Trillion was like a foreign word. Now it's commonplace. Our deficits are so many different things that are going on. I mean, for years we've had these massive deficits, and the number gets bigger all the time. And we have a little reprise now. And people, and actually, one thing I'll say about Obama, I'm not a big fan, but he's been the luckiest president, and he has been the luckiest guy. He was running for the Senate, and he was losing by a fortune, and the guy he was running against ended up being, what's it, a wife beater or something? So he wins. Then he's running for the presidency. He wins because Bush didn't do so hot, okay? You could have brought back Abraham Lincoln. He couldn't have won. And then you think he ran against Mitt, and he had it, you know, no way he could have won. And Mitt choked, okay? He did a rotten job. He couldn't finish. No, he couldn't finish the deal. And you know, a lot of things are happening. We're going to go into that, because just before I end, I want to talk about, you know, some potential candidates and all, and, you know, because our country, we really need somebody good. So we've got to stop some of the massive problems. Islamic terrorism is going to be worse and worse, and President Obama doesn't want to use the word Islamic. I mean, he doesn't want to use the word. And whatever it is, terrorism, but Islamic terrorism, it's got to be stopped. I wrote a book probably 12 years ago, and I said terrorism someday is going to be a big problem. And everyone's telling me, you're the one person. I really predicted a lot of this. You've all been watching me talking about China for years. I was right. I was right on Russia, and I get along with Russia. I have the Miss Universe pageants. I own them. They were in Moscow last year. Get along great with them. I mean, you can get along with people that aren't necessarily your friends and do very well and come out ahead. You can come out ahead. But the level of hatred the world has for us, and we give them nothing, but we give them everything we can give them. We don't have anything to give. And they hate us. But more than hate, they don't respect us. And they don't respect our leaders. So it's really a tough situation. Now, Common Core is bad. Common Core is bad, okay? It's got to be a local. It's got to be a local thing. Second Amendment is good. All right, it's good. You see all this stuff. I mean, the one thing I know, the bad guys are going to have the guns, okay? That's the one thing I know. Maybe if you could guarantee, maybe we start thinking about it. The bad guys are going to have the guns. And, you know, how people can say so much about guns and take them away. The people that are really the trouble with the weapons, you can have no self-defense, you can have no nothing. Because they, I guarantee, you won't have anybody gives it up on the bad side. So you have to start thinking in terms of Second Amendment, and you have to cherish the Second Amendment, and you have to. So I want to get back for a second to the election. So we have a very important election coming up, and you know, so many different things can happen, and so many things can happen for the positive. Romney lost. It was an election that should have been won. He's got the same problems he's always had. The 47% stupid statement is a problem. They're not going to say, oh, we can't bring that up again, because he made it a number of years ago because we're so nice, they're so nice. The 47% problem is a problem. Romney Care is a problem. I always said, Romney Care. Now, I backed him. I wanted him to win. I was hoping he'd win. Something happened in the end. It's like a deal maker that can't make the deal. Something happened to him in the end, and nobody knows what it is. And the thing that I think, because I gave a lot of money, I gave a lot of time, I worked hard, I helped him really in his primaries. In the general election, he didn't ask for my help too much, was fine, because I have a lot of other things to do in all fairness. He should have, because Florida, I love Florida, and I do great in Florida and a lot of other places, but I helped him a lot with 6 different states, and he won every one of them. And, he made a statement at the end, or his people did. I don't know if it was a statement to make himself feel better or what, but he said he never really wanted to win the presidency anyway. And I was so angry at that statement. Now, that's a statement sometimes a deal maker will make when you say that because it makes you feel better about not getting the deal. But here you have, well, you all remember that. Does anybody remember that? That was part of what he said. Now, sometimes you make yourself feel better when you say that. Well, I didn't want the deal anyway. Like me, I'll miss a deal. Yeah, I didn't want it anyway because I feel better. You can't say that when you're running for president. And because too many people are hurt. Too many people have worked too hard. They've worked too hard, and they put up too much, not the money, they put up too much of their blood, sweat, and tears. And you just can't say that. So he had his chance. In my opinion, that chance is a better one. In other words, I believe that it's tougher, the next election, for the Republican presidential candidate. I actually think that the next election will be tougher for the Republicans to win on a presidential basis. And a lot of reasons for that. Now, I don't know that it's going to be Hillary. It's probably going to be Hillary. And I think she can absolutely be beaten. But I think that there's it's a very tough election compared to a failed president. And I regret that I didn't, I was leading in every poll. I was doing great in everything. I was doing great. And ultimately, I decided I was doing things all over the world. I did have a contractual relationship on The Apprentice, and it is a big, massive show on television. But I felt maybe Romney could carry the ball, and I backed him. But we have to win this next election. I mean, you have to win it. Just a thing like executive orders, you can wipe them out in one day. Somebody said, what would be the first executive order? Joe asked me the question. What would be the first executive order or thing that you would do? And I said, I'd look at executive orders, but the first thing probably would be end Obamacare and create something better. I don't want to just end it and not. I want to create something better. I would do one thing, I'm a really good builder. I build under budget and ahead of schedule. I would build one of the great walls of all time. There's nobody going to be getting through our wall. Believe me. There won't be a scene like I saw last week on television, believe me, where people are just walking into this country and saying, hey, which state? Maybe I'll go to Florida, maybe I'll go to New York. Where do I want to go? And the guards are standing there with their guns and just saying, go ahead, folks. It won't happen. Believe me, it's not going to happen if I do it. But we talk about Bush. So Bush, I mean, the expression, and I started it, and now everyone's saying it, and I guess people figure, the one bad thing about doing things like I do is you start something, and then everyone picks it up, and then they figure out where it all started. But I did say the last thing we need is another Bush. Okay? You don't need it. Now, Romney choked and didn't do a good job in the last month. Can't give him another chance. When you're a great athlete, there are some athletes that choke. Tom Brady doesn't choke, okay? But there are athletes that choke. Most of them choke. We can't take another chance on another choke. With Bush, he's weak on immigration. He wants Common Core. And his brother gave us Obama, okay? He gave us Obama, whether you like it or not. And this Bush, from everything I've heard, pushed very hard that Roberts became the Supreme Court Justice. So he wanted Roberts. And Roberts, what did he do? He essentially gave Obamacare a second life. And there are justices in court, I hear, that won't even speak to him. They cannot believe that he did that. They won't even speak to him. So we've got some problems in the country, and we can straighten them out. It's a country with great, great potential. It's got to be done quickly. You cannot go through another 4 years or 8 years of what we've been going through, because it's not going to be the same place. And I am actually very good at solving problems. And I'm very good at management. And I'm very good at a lot of things. And I will tell you, I have great compassion for people. I mean, it's very important. We have to make this country rich again. Now, that sounds, oh, that's a terrible statement. No, it's not. If we want to keep Social Security as it is, and I do, I watch all these people. You know, the Republicans are saying, let's cut Social Security, let's cut Medicare, let's cut Medicare. I don't want to cut it. We have such potential in this country for making so much. I want to make this country rich again so you don't have to cut Social Security, so you don't have to cut Medicare and Medicaid. And you can do that. Believe me, you can do that. You know, there was an interesting poll. It was taken of the Tea Party. It was 2-3 years ago. And these are people that, again, love the country. They believe in cutting where they can cut. But 83% of the Tea Party said, leave my Social Security alone. I'm sorry, folks. And that's what I'd want to do. I want to make the country rich again. But more importantly, I'd want to make our country great again. And maybe they go somewhat hand in hand. So I am taking a very, very, very serious look, because I've been watching what's been happening, and it's no good. And I've been watching at who's looking at running, and they're no good. I don't mean as people, I mean it's not going to work, and it certainly will not take this country to the next level. And I'd like to see this country go many levels up. And I'll tell you what, in this room, we all expect the same thing. We have potentially an unbelievable place. It's been wounded really, really badly. But we can make this country great again, and we have to do it. So with that, thank you. You see, we got one guy. Run, down, run, run. Thank you. With that, I'll take a few questions. I understand there are a few questions, so go ahead, please. Great honor to be here, by the way. Questions? Excuse me? Yes, sir. Yeah, Carlo Gambino. This is Carlo Gambino. The late, great Carlo Gambino. That's very good.
I sent it to you. I wanted it made here in South Carolina.
Okay.
Found the company.
Good.
Asked you for a little backing. Never got an answer from you.
Oh, that's good.
This would be from three.
Maybe because he's Carlo Gambino, I said, let's stay away.
You laugh, but I was top secret crypto in Da Nang, Vietnam in '68. I ran the country in communications.
Good, good, good.
What I want to know is why we don't have any backing for a chair that goes around 360 degrees, collapses 3 inches thick, weighs less than.
Okay. Let's have another question. Go ahead. Honestly, it's funny to be joking, but we're in a serious problem in this country. Okay, I mean, so I don't consider that to be a very good question. Go ahead. You have to make, again, there are so many things you can do to create wealth in the country. It's easier than doing a business. One of the things I do is take the jobs away from China. China has made a fortune on us, and so have other countries. And look, I know people in New York, I know people in Wall Street that are so good and so tough and so smart. China wouldn't have a chance. I want them to negotiate with us against China. We are going to do just fine. They don't make bad deals. But we don't have those people. We have diplomats. We have people that they don't know the first thing about business. They never made a deal. Our president never made a deal before, except his house, and that's all a big question, okay? He never made a deal. And I'll say this. I am giving it serious consideration. But it's very hard for a man who's done many deals. My whole life is a deal. Everything, every day, every hour. It's like deals, deals, deals. And I'm really good at it. And I built a tremendous net worth. And I'd be willing to give all that and do this and do the same thing for the country. But it's very hard for that type of a person to run, because you've done so much. And in doing it, you've beaten people. Sometimes you've beaten them to a pulp, and they don't like you. As opposed to a person that hasn't done a damn thing, and they run. And they say, oh, but that's not the kind of person we need in this country. So there are a lot of things. Number one, would make great deals with other countries. They wouldn't be sucking our blood. And we could have so much wealth in this country again. You know, we used to have that. We don't have it anymore. We're a debtor nation. Right now, we are a debtor nation. Yes, sir, go ahead. Well, I think Hillary could be beaten. I actually think Hillary, I know Hillary very well, very well, and I think Hillary can absolutely be beaten. I think Hillary, first of all, it may not be Hillary. It could be somebody else.
I think.
Excuse me? I'd beat her just by showing how great the country could be. And Hillary's stuck in a very bad position because she's got to justify what Obama's done to a certain extent. And I think ultimately that's going to be a very tough position. Now, I will say this. Hillary, being a woman, you're going to have women that are going to say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a woman president? It's going to be very tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to beat. I'm saying I could beat her. I can tell you this. The people that I'm watching you interview, they don't have a chance.
Sir, I think we have time for one last
Okay?
question. Right
Give me a
back
good one. I want a good one.
I've got a good one for you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Trump,
Yeah.
with the federal government being one of the largest, if not the largest employer in the United States that produces absolutely nothing, can you talk briefly about some of the departments that you'd be willing to cut? Because we have a lot of, we're in the hole. We can
Well,
cut.
okay, sure. It's
We
a
can
great
start by
question.
cutting Department of Education.
I think, yeah. He's got the same ones I do. Certainly you could cut that at least way down. I mean, there could be a little coordination in all fairness because I am totally against Common Core, but you could cut that way, way, way down. I think the Environmental Protection Agency is a disaster, okay? Maybe more than any. And as a builder, I see things coming out. Shower heads, the water can't drip. So the people stay in the shower 4 times as long. Okay? The sinks, the water can't come out. So they have the sink running 3 times because they can't. They have to still fill up the same pots and pans. They have to wash their hands. The water doesn't come out. I could go a step further. The toilets. Disaster. Has anyone bought a new toilet recently? So you know what they do? They flush them 20 times because they don't work. But the environmental protection agencies in this country, and in particular the federal level, are a total disaster and a total joke. And that would be one that I would cut, and I would also do a big number on education. I will do one more. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Go.
Thank you for coming. God bless you. But listen, when we see you on television, you look like a smaller man. And
Everyone's surprised. They're always surprised at how tall I am. So I'm 6'3". I photograph short. Okay? And by the way, tonight, on The Apprentice, Joan Rivers makes her final thing. We love Joan. I'm telling you, she's great. And she's on tonight on The Apprentice. So it's really going to be a great thing. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
how do you bring manufacturing back to this country and make us a great manufacturing?
By creating incentive and by having leadership and by having people with business acumen and business minds. You can do it. We can become great again. This country can become great again. Right now we're going off the cliff and it's going to be very, very tough. Should I take his one question? Go ahead. One more question. Go ahead.
I would like to know what you think of public-private partnerships and how when they go bankrupt, it's on the
Well, I tell you what, I've never seen anybody make so many bad deals as Obama with some of these public-private. You know, with the solar energy stuff where they're all going down the tubes. And then friends of mine from Wall Street are buying the plants for like 2 cents on the dollar. The whole thing is ridiculous. No, that should stay out. To a large extent, that should stay out. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you. We have a great country. We can really turn it around. You got to pick the right person. And I'll tell you, 2016 is the most important year, the most important election you're going to see ever, maybe. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. He's going to sign our Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and then I believe go down to our second floor exhibit hall for his coffee break. So if everybody'd like to head down there, we will see you there.
the exit.